Hey everybody, BTO Pro here. Just wanted to give an update on kind of the state of HAX because I've been doing a lot of stuff recently, and I listened to really loud, heart-thumping music today, thanks to Knife Party. So there's a lot of Knife Party-inspired UX now. So as usual, doesn't look that different from before. We did fix some things in regards to here, so this will now actually print the contents that are inside of it correctly and manage it. So a lot of like little things getting updated that you don't notice, and then a lot of things now in this update you should notice. For one, it starts with that ease in, so trying to normalize the ease in animations. Also, an active state is sticking to this really obnoxious green at the moment. It's by design. So then when I select something, see we've also added this touch of obnoxious green. Here, I'm trying to stick to obnoxious green plus kind of this mostly monochrome type of visual pattern for what things are behind the scenes. I should apply that more up here. But so let's get to the stuff you care about. So add things, all right? This should look different. Going with a drastically darker UI pattern. So I'm going to point to something I've already added. Configure it, again, drastically darker UI pattern to try and focus that everything that I'm doing that is this more system-y type of a feel to it has kind of this like terminal-esque behind the scenes vibe because it's not the content itself, right? This is the content that I care about. This is all like the settings and stupid stuff that'll go away soon, right? And so we want to hide that kind of behind the scenes, make it feel like it's more behind the scenes. And so then I put it back in the page. It's super bright white because most of these backgrounds we use on the web are usually for good contrast purposes. So let's find something. You can see this is also drastically overhauled. We've got the simplification and with these names here. So add, I should probably just change it to add instead of add content, but find, the operation I'm engaged in, whether I'm making something with the search capabilities right there. Also nice, big, bright board here, as well as this nice little hover over zoom in effect that previously was only visible on the find board. So, find Wikipedia article, just like before, nothing crazy there. Change the article. All right, just so you can see what those changes are. There's also a lot of improvements on the searching here. So YouTube, you'll see when I search YouTube that all the color schemes are here to match everything else. You also see there's a light transparency to the background, but not the items itself. So using some RGBA color schemes to maintain that. And again, the very subtle transparency, but yet the things that you actually care to click on do not have that. Again, there as well, just very light. So we put that in the page. Find stuff. If we have more complex search options, like on a Flickr, for example, right? We have the form items there. You can see it'll load stuff. Pretty cool. Now go to templates. And you can see we also got that bubbly, and this is me using a keyboard, but that bubble effect to insert stuff. Pretty cool. And now the thing you care about. So layouts. So we've got this nice little SVG iconography to indicate which layout there is. There are some other options in this, and actually the thing powering it can do even more variety of grid plates, but these are the primary ones we want to stick to because don't want to get too crazy with the grid plates. Too many design options in this regard could be a bad thing. Let's say it was a 6633. I could throw that in the page, and then it gives me a boilerplate, more or less. So now some other little conventions. I can double click on text areas, and that'll escalate them into paragraphs. And so I have to deselect that at the moment. You can see that I'm highlighting this empty paragraph here, and I write a bunch of text. If I want to move that over to the next column, I could click and we can move these things around. Oopsies, okay, there we go. And so you can see I can bounce them between columns. I could also drag and drop it. and you'll see there's a little bit of an outlining effect when that happens. So if I take this and move it over there we go. That you can see there's a bit of a drop zone that pops up, and I need to account for the item not being allowed to drop into itself, obviously. So let's do another layout. Let's do a 33, 33, 33. Okay. And move the whole grid plate up or down. It's also a nice function of the grid plate. We can delete the items that are inside of the grid plate and then start to transition into deleting all this stuff everywhere else. Delete that. There we go. Image, I can click and I can convert that into an actual image in this case, because this demo doesn't have that connotation of uploading. So I can point to things and replace it just in place, but it's in the context of the grid plate, which is fun. I can also, since I've got my cursor positioned here, right, I've selected inside the grid plate, I can add text and it'll inject it into that column in the grid plate. I can also select just the grid plate, go to settings, and now I can convert the grid plate to something else. So I can make this a 4-column, and then I can also mess with some of the colors of these columns themselves. Is something we're still playing with. But so that if I gave, gray to 2 of the columns, might make more sense. And then, indigo or deep orange, but it kind of helps to be able to see it. So I can update, and now I've got a 4-column grid plate here. I can move that over into that column. I can take this image, drop it into the middle one, take that header, drop it over into the third. And so you can see that we've got some half-decent accounting for these things. There we go. It gets a little weird when you have a drop zone area in that regard. You'll also notice that the areas expand. So if I click and move this, you'll see there's nothing in this column. And right now, if you're saying things are 4 columns, we're not going to just get rid of the column. That's kind of by design. But if I take this area, notice as I initiate a drag event, it actually pops up and expands the area so that I have a target more or less to drop it into. So yeah, this is what primarily been working on. It's getting pretty sweet, I'm not gonna lie, the whole thing is. I could take that grid plate and be like, it's only 2 columns now because that's all I'm using. And I could say, well, it's 2-column 50-50 split. Don't really like that 2-column 50-50 split. Let's make it more of a 66-33. And so this is, one of the more powerful concepts that we've been kind of making sure we have all the other ducks in a row before we pursue. But it is working pretty well. I could then scale the entire grid plate. Not all elements are going to respond nicely to that, but it is possible to do. There we go. And so I can move the entire grid plate then back up to the top of the document, maintain my scale, and maybe start positioning it around and stuff. So that's kind of all I wanted to show for today, just kind of the progress of these things, this UX uniformity, things like the preferences area that's using the same style and colors as everything else. Export is also cleaned up, both on the output side, but also just the UI, having some more descriptive buttons certainly helps when you're in kind of development mode, as well as these nice little bubbly, hey, this is what you've got highlighted. Just provides a nice little searching effect, right? Visually to go, oh yeah, that's the thing. It also, when I tab, so like if I were to tab through these, I get the same exact UX pattern, which is also really nice. So I could select that vocab word. So this has some, certainly better than before, way better than before, A11Y considerations as well going on. That's a lot less visual, but it's still, it's absolutely more accessible than it was previously. These color selections with this neon green is also for to enforce high contrast, so that regardless of text size, you can see what the items are. So still working on some of this, always willing to accept feedback on these things, but it's getting pretty sick. We're looking to move this into production next week, actually. Been waiting for a time to be able to pull the trigger on that. So this has been running a lot of personal stuff. It's also been running on smaller, less critical websites, to be perfectly honest. And so now we're going to be moving it up to the big guy with Elm's Learning Network, and being able to cut a 10x release that'll have this authoring experience just baked in. So thanks for checking us out. As always, looking for people to contribute, work with, and just generally change the world together.